Joseph Espinola, who is the candidate for State Senate, the 2nd Essex and Middlesex District. It's a mouthful. Would anyone like to start with a question for Mr. Espinola?
Good evening. My question is, what is your position on question 3, and can you explain why that is your position?
Absolutely. I am for repealing question 3, and I'll tell you why.
Can you just clarify, so you'd vote yes or no on question 3?
I'm voting yes to repeal it.
Okay, yes. Okay. So
Okay.
yes on 3.
Yes on 3. And I'll tell you why I believe that it should be repealed. I am a chairman of the school committee at Greater Lowell. And we make accommodations. We actually lauded throughout the state for our embracement of LGBT communities and transfluid and transgendered students. But it's less than 0.5% of the residents of Massachusetts fall into this category. But I look at this when I was a child and I was gone into the bathrooms and had to take a shower with a bunch of other guys in the shower. I actually, as you can see, I've been portly my whole life, and it wasn't comfortable for me to be in a position where I was taking a shower in the midst of everybody else taking the showers. And so my reason for saying this is it has nothing to do with the LGBT community. It has more to do with the other people who felt like I did when I was a child. I believe that we should take a look at, just like we do for handicap and Americans with Disability Acts, we make a new building, we make it handicap accessible. So if we start to build new buildings, let's make single stall bathrooms, family bathrooms. Let's put a stall for each child in the school to shower in their own privacy, so that everybody feels safe, secure, and happy, and not embarrassed. So I think that's where we need to go. And it's just like everything in government, there's a way to make everybody at least 75% happy, not 10% and 90%. So these are my things, and people have really given me some credit for that conversation that I've had about question 3, because my sister's actually gay, and she went through, and I tell her all the time that I say to her, you were gay when it wasn't cool. She's 57 years old, and she went through the service, don't ask, don't tell, and it was very tough for her, 5 years in the Air Force. And she's my hero, that she had to go through that. And I grew up with LGBT. It wasn't as many letters back then. It was just G. So I understand this. It comes from a personal perspective with my sister, and also a personal perspective from me when I was going to school. So I think that would be something that wouldn't bother anybody, and I think it would applaud everybody to say, no, that's a good idea. Let's do that, because I think everybody will be happy.
Keith Saxon, I was just interested in your background, being a former policeman and being the chair of the Lowell school committee or technical high school committee. How do you see that background? What would you do as a state senator? You know, what type of things would you be working on or working towards?
Well, I can tell you this. I believe that schools should be fully funded. And people say, well, what do you mean by fully funded? Well, every student gets X for a stipend, no matter where you live. And then if the communities want to afford their children something more, then that's something the students and the residents in the school committee can talk about to do some better things for the schools. I'm fortunate enough to be the chairperson of a school committee that we basically send a bill to the 4 communities that pay the bill, and we are fortunate enough to have Chromebooks and looking at doing some stuff for our schools. We just did a $65 million addition and rehabilitation to the school, and all we have to do, and it embarrasses me, but we just write a bill and send it to the cities and towns, and they have to pay it because that was their agreement. So it's I think everybody should be able to write a bill to the state. Here's my bill. We got X amount of kids, and this is you're paying X per kid, and here's the bill, and we're going to make the best of it. So I think that my experiences at the school, I fought diligently. I've been to so many State House meetings and outside State House meetings, and when we have in our charter at Greater Lowell that the state is supposed to pay 100% of the transportation costs. It's in the charter, and the state signed it when they put it. When I first started, it was 52%. 52% of the transportation costs. It was millions of dollars. It's now at 74, and it's not just 74 for Greater Lowell Tech. It's 74 for all of Massachusetts, and I was part of that movement to try to get them to say, hey, look at, everything else seems to be okay to fund, and it's not an anti-immigration thing. It's not an immigration thing, but we fully fund immigration issues every single year, and we tend or not to fully fund our schools. Take care of the people that are here, and then when you have done cutting up the pie, let everybody else, like you do for your donations to churches and schools and for community activities. We should at least be funding our schools 100% first. Then we cut the rest of the pie up to find out what we're going to do with it, transportation and things of that nature. We add taxes all the time. It's supposed to go to one thing or another, and it ends up in the general fund. And pay attention, because that's what happens. The money goes into the general fund, and it gets doled out according to how the speaker wants it to be doled out. So if they put a tax in for cigarettes to help with the smoking, cessation of smoking, it goes into the general fund. If the speaker decides that he should not want to fund cessation of smoking or vaping or whatever, it doesn't go there. So pay attention to that. That's a good point that I should say more. But that's my education thing. I'm experienced what the schools need, what they need to move into the future, what they need to have the materials they need, to the technical stuff that they need. Pay the teachers. I just did a contract, and mind you, I'm a Republican, and we had 2 meetings for every single union, 17 unions. We had 2 meetings, one to discuss what we were going to do, and the second one to ratify, because I believe the teachers are the hinge pin of our future. The kids are number one. The teachers are going to get them there.
Good evening. I'm a clinical social worker who works with people with substance abuse. And I'm curious, what are your thoughts on how to best serve that population?
It's amazing. A lot of clinical social workers here tonight. My wife's a clinical social worker. That's how I met her, actually, because when I was a police officer, I worked with kids in addiction, and I had mentioned that my brother passed away from addiction. So I want to take my technical experience. A lot of people don't know this. In this district, there is 4 separate technical schools, one for each city and town: Neshoba, Shawshene, Greater Lowell, and Greater Lawrence, that sit empty from 3 o'clock till the next day. Some people are in there doing night school, but it's not really a big thing. I think we need to attack the opiate and the addiction abuse stuff with mental health, number one. Find out why they're self-medicating, and to find out how we can help them do that. So help their mind, physically take care of them, make them go to a hospital. When you're Narcan, I don't know if you've ever seen anybody Narcan. It is the most amazing thing. Other than my kid's childbirth, it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. We make them go and get to a better mind in their head to make a decision that I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to live like that. And then you take care of their soul. And with their soul, you give them a trade. And with that trade, they're able to go out and get up every morning and say, I'm not going that way. I'm going that way. And I'm going to be a plumber. I'm going to be an electrician. I'm going to make something of myself. And I'm not going that way. I'm not going to go bang on the corners for dimes and nickels and dollars. I'm going that way. I'm going to get myself a job. I'm going to take care of myself, get myself an apartment, and I'm going to meet my daughter and my son that I never met. So that's my goal. Not what I want to do. That's my goal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Espinola. You are free to move on to the next table. Thank you for answering. You are released. Thank you for answering questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was nice talking to you guys.